Peace, family. Welcome to How to Protect Your Assets with Trust. And we're really excited to have Dr. Saacha Spade here with you this morning. I'm going to let some more folks in. My name is Equality, as most of you know, and I've known Saacha for, goodness, almost 10 years now. We met back in the Twitter days is when we first connected, and she's such a jewel, such a wealth of knowledge. And I'm really excited to have you here today, Queen, and we're excited to hear what you have to share with us about trust. And I'm going to mute, and this is all you, so you can take it away. I'll go ahead and mute. So good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, sis. I appreciate being here. Thank you all for coming. Again, my apology for not being able to show up on yesterday. However, everything happens on divine time, and I believe that whoever's supposed to get this message will get it. So if you're viewing this live or, through replay or whatever have you, thank you so much for taking this time to come and just open your mind a little bit to what I've been given to tell you. I don't have any notes or anything like that. I generally just say what I've been given to say because I deal with different groups, and, it's kind of hard to gauge where everyone is knowledge-wise about the subject matter. So we're just going to deal with fundamentals and, build from there. And so, if I lose you at any point, please feel free to let me know. I don't know. Where's this chat box? Let me see. Sis, if you could kind of help me with just keeping track of any questions or anything like that, then that will be tremendously helpful. My name is Saacha Spade, and like Sister Equality said, I've been doing this work for quite some time. I've been living as a trustee since 2009. It's the best decision that I ever made in my life, primarily because once I realized that, started remembering who I am, and I wanted to walk in that. I wanted to make sure that all the way across the board, I was transacting in a way that was in alignment with who I truly am. And the more that I started digging into this matrix and, picking things apart, which I've been doing since I was very young, seeing, being able to see that, this reality and what is going on around us is in fact an illusion, and start really just peering into the truth of the matter, getting connected with God within and walking this out, I started realizing that there were things that were set in motion to keep us at a standstill. And majority of that had to do with the way that we view ourselves, of course, and then also the way that we transact, because commerce is more than just spending money. It's more than just buying and selling. It's actual contracts that we enter into every time we pass pieces of paper, what we've been given to transact with, or swipe a card or write a check or whatever. There are silent contracts that are embedded into the currency, the debt notes that we use, that we have been told is money, which in fact are promises to pay. And so as I started really digging into that and understanding that, the way that commerce is set up is not designed for us as flesh and blood beings to actually ever get out of the rat race, ever rise above being debt slaves. It's designed to put us into a situation where we're hamsters on the wheel, where we will continually pass pieces of paper, making promises to pay for things at a later date that we benefit off of today. And so with that being said, that journey took me down a real serious rabbit hole that, started unveiling to me that, okay, there's two sets of rules going on in this reality, in this matrix. There's a set of rules for masters, and there's a set of rules for slaves. And the 1% who have been in control for generations and generations and generations, they transact one way, and the rest of us who are programmed to basically be worker bees, we transact another. And so I started digging into, okay, so let's find out how they transact, because however they transact is how I need to be transacting, because there's a total paradigm shift and difference between the reality that they manifest and the one that I've manifested. And the one that I've manifested doesn't resonate with the truth of who I know that I am. So there's a conflict somewhere that needs to be resolved. And that conflict was within myself, understanding more and more who I truly am, and then aligning myself in a way that would allow me to manifest that reality externally. But the shift had to take place inside first. And so, although we are here to talk about trust, and I kind of went the metaphysical, spiritual route, because that's who we truly are at the core of our being. And everything that we have around us is spiritual. It starts in the unseen and then it manifests into the seen. I went that direction because although we are talking about trust and we're talking about protecting your assets, your ass is your first asset. And so it doesn't matter about the tangibles or the intangibles or, all of those things, the house, the car, all of those things are subsequent to a shift or an alignment within. When you start recognizing who you truly are and you set your house in order, then you can manifest those things more effortlessly. But when you don't have the foundation of your house stabilized and built, it's on sinking sand. You put the walls and the windows and the carpet and all of those things up, but the foundation is faulty, then it doesn't have the ability to weather the storms. And so as I started looking at how they transact, I realized that there's two things that they use that we don't use. One is trust. Two is life insurance. And both of those things have similar qualities if you have the right type of trust and if you have the right type of life insurance. And why the wealth gap is the way that it is and how they've been able to stabilize their generations multi-generationally has been by utilizing these things that, we're programmed differently. We're told to set up a will. We think that life insurance is basically about when we die. So it's death insurance, basically. We don't know that there's ways that we can capitalize off of the life insurance while we're still here in this reality. And with trust, we are told about all kinds of different things. So we think that it has to do with having money. We think that it has to do with, having assets. We think that it has to do with, just the rich and the wealthy have that. And, if you don't have anything, then you have no need to set up trust, which is all a lie. Trusts are the foundation of your house, and you build on top of it. Now, if you don't have anything, that's a perfect place to be. If you haven't accrued a lot of material assets, that's the perfect place to be, because you want to stabilize and build your house and lay the foundation properly so that as you start to build and build and build, you don't have to worry about working backwards. You don't have to worry about losing what it is that you are building, especially in this season. In this season of my life, I can't afford to start over, from scratch again. I will if I have to, but the reality of it is, I've already done that multiple times. Started building, lost, and now, I'm playing for keeps because I have generations, I have children that I'll never meet that are coming behind me that I'm responsible for. We all are, and so that is why I primarily started operating as a trustee, when I recognized that there's no liability as a trustee and that I didn't have to necessarily own anything, because we can't own anything anyway. God owns all. Whatever you interpret that energy to be, the source of all owns all. This is creation. We are here to benefit and to enjoy, but there is nothing here that we can take with us. Not anything. We We are here to be stewards. We are here to be managers. We are here to have control over what is in our control to the best of our ability. But as far as ownership, that is a big lie. And I say that, I know that everybody has their different perspectives. You know, the bank tells you, you know, you could be a home owner, you know, but the bank's name is on the title. You can't own anything because of the way that commerce is set up. We have been turned into digital persons. And so that's like a cartoon character trying to own something in a real life situation, like Daffy Duck trying to come into this reality and own something. You know, the digital format, the digital persons that we have been turned into, the digitalized persons that we have been turned into, keep us from being able to actually own anything. First and foremost, because God owns all, we can't own anything anyway. And we have been programmed to get away from that. And in our egocentric nature, we think, okay, this is mine. This is mine. This house is mine. This car is mine. These clothes are mine. You know, this skin is mine. This jewelry is mine. This, you know, everything. These children are mine. When in fact, nothing belongs to us. We are here to be stewards, and we're all being stewards, whether we realize it or not. Some of us are being good stewards. Some of us are being bad stewards. When we don't realize that we are caring for something that is in our control, and it's our job and our duty to care for that and to manage that in a way that we responsibly turn it into a profitable situation, or put it in a position to where it's protected, get the knowledge that we have to protect what it is that we've been entrusted with, and then pass that forward to future generations that are coming behind us, while at the same time teaching them how to be a good steward as well, not just giving them something that they're going to squander or waste, but actually giving them the knowledge on how to maintain and to hold on to and to monetize and maximize what they have been entrusted with, and us the same, but it starts with us. And so trust give us the ability to do that. And as a trustee, the things that I realized was that, okay, I'm one with God. So I'm sovereign because God is sovereign. So in that case, then why am I still transacting like a slave? Why am I focused on building my credit as if credit is not symbolic of debt? Yes, we are to manage what it is that we've been given, but credit is going to retire when we retire. When we transition from this plane, credit, we can no longer use our credit where we're going. You know, no one can use our credit after we've left here. And so credit is something that is based on a 9-digit CUSIP number, a social security number that does not belong to us. It belongs to the Queen of England because she owns the Social Security Administration. And it's not our number. It is a number that we have been given to use. It is a number that is a tracking device. It is a number that keeps a record of all of our financial transactions and gives someone else the ability to know exactly what it is that we've accrued, because we are transacting and attaching that number because we're a steward over that number. We don't own it, but we control it. You see the premise? This whole reality is about control, not ownership. Even the way that commerce is set up for control. We believe that we can own. We're told that we can own. We subscribe to that illusion. And then that is where the chaos and the negativity start, because God owns all, because the source of all creation owns everything in creation. Just there's already a friction with the transactions that we execute with the concept that we are owner. You know, the powers that be, those that have been in control for all of this time, they understand that they can never own anything. And one of the Rockefellers even said, you know, the secret to success, the secret to wealth is not ownership, it is control. So they don't even focus on ownership. They focus on control, which is why you can only follow the money to a certain point before it's off the grid. They use the lower level entities such as LLCs and corporations and nonprofits and partnerships and all of these different things to accrue profit and wealth and, deal with the public. But then after that has happened, that money dissipates into trust, private trust, that you can never follow that trail past a certain point, because the trust that I deal with, private trust, irrevocable trust, they're designed for asset protection, obviously. They separate, it's a way to separate what it is that you're building from you, because it's considered to be its own person. So you have different type of trust. You have living trust, you have, which are revocable, land trusts, which are revocable. You have different trusts, which are revocable. Revocable means that it wasn't designed to be a stable situation. And it's basically you doing business as a trust. So it's almost like it's like a DBA. And the government considers it to be a DBA because they know that, okay, you have something in a revocable trust that for one, the trust documents, because it's revocable, can be modified. And then for two, whatever you put in that revocable trust is just a temporary house. It's just a temporary house. It's going from one place to the next place, and it's just bypassing through a trust. But with the irrevocable trust, which is key to success and key to building generational wealth, it's a stabilized house. It's considered to be a separate person from you. So you can use that trust. You can use your individual capacity to accrue things in this matrix to get what it is that you need to get to acquire. Because acquisition is very easy. Getting it is easy, but keeping it is hard. So acquiring the things that you need to do in your individual capacity, recognizing that identification, that information on that identification is not you. It is a straw man. It is there, all capital letters. It is there for you to control, but you don't own it. And it's the digitalized format that we've been turned into. And so using that, using your credit, using all of the tools that you've been given, as master over this reality, you have these things in place, which are to be your slaves, not to be your master. They're there for you to benefit off of, but you have to understand the proper context and what you're doing when you're contracting out here in commerce, because we're treated as if we know all of this. We're treated as if we know the Uniform Commercial Code. We're treated as if we know the Uniform Trust Code. We're treated as if we know the rules of engagement with the Federal Reserve. We're treated as if we know all of the silent contracts that come with passing debt notes. We're treated as if we are bankers. We're treated as that. And so ignorance is not an excuse when it comes to law. There's so many different statutes and codes and policies and legalese, so much of that to regulate and to control 8 billion people on this planet. Okay. And so it's not about right and wrong, it's about control. So when you let go of the illusion of focusing and thinking that this matrix, this reality that you're in is about right and wrong, your view will start to change. Your perspective will start to shift, because you'll start realizing, okay, there's a lot of wrong by my standards that is going on in this reality. Why is this allowed? Because it's not about right and wrong, it's about control. Everything is about control. The digitalized persons that we are transacting, we are controlling those. We are benefiting off of those. Those are actually trusts called SEDEK trusts. They're not us. And so all of these tools that we've been given, what I have discovered is that you use them to, you can't war with the beast. You can't, who can make war with the beast and win? The beast is the beast because the beast is the beast. We are in a construct of control. Let's just accept that, which is also a holographic universe, which is also where we are engaging with different aspects of ourselves. And when we hit certain levels, different aspects of ourselves show up to facilitate those different levels that we are hitting, to make sure that we get to the finish line and do what it is that we are here on purpose to do. And so with the trust, it's very vital that if you intend to master your reality, you start changing the way that you transact. Because if you continue to accrue things in your individual capacity under that CUSIP, under that 9-digit social security number, with no end game in mind, you're not going to be able to hold on to what it is that you're building. And you're actually just playing the game that the bankers have set in motion, that the controllers have set in motion. They own the tangible asset that you are acquiring. They own the currency that you are passing to get the tangible asset. And they own the identification and the number that you are using to accrue. So all three components of what it is that you are doing, you're passing paper with the digitalized format to get something tangible, and all three of those aspects belong to the controllers. What are you doing? Which part of it is yours? Not damn one of those parts are yours. So when you take your individual capacity and you set up an irrevocable trust outside of the jurisdiction of the bankers, a private contract between you, the settler, and the beneficiary, and you set that in motion, and then you start accruing and you alchemize that, and you take that and you take it from over here, and then you reconvey it into your private trust. Now you have taken it and pulled it out of their jurisdiction and put it into a jurisdiction as a master, that who is in control of your own affairs. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a science to it. It's not just about using a trust. It's not just about protecting an asset. Your ass is your first asset, your family, your legacy. To stabilize your house, you have to make sure that the foundation is set in motion properly. Trusts have been around since the days of Julius Caesar. Think about how many times the economy has changed. Think about how many storms that the currencies have changed, and everything has changed since that time. Think about how much the world has changed, and trusts have been a stable factor through every storm, through every shift, through every, everything that has happened economically. Trusts have been right there because it's private contracts at work, and contracts rule the planet. And so what they did in 1933, if you're unaware, they crashed the economy, and it was a slow boil. It started in 1929. In 1933, it hit the climax, but they had a previous system in place called the money trust. The money trust. And it was the same individuals that are over the Federal Reserve that were involved with the money trust. And what they did was they were doing the same thing. However, they didn't have control over the people, and they didn't have control over the currency. So they were profiting off of those who were willing participants in their game, but there was a large part of the population that still had gold and silver, that were still transacting in banks that were not under the thumb of the money trust. And so what they did, they used I'm just going to give you the short version. The climax hit the fan when they closed down the banks for 4 days on a banking holiday, didn't open back up. And when they opened back up, the whole system had changed from the money trust to the Federal Reserve. And then all of those banks that did not want to be under one of the 12 jurisdictions of the Federal Reserve went out of business. But guess what? Through all of that, the only accounts that made it through that transition were those that had trust accounts, and those that had trust accounts were those that were in control. So they had to leave a loophole in the system to transact through. And so it's not so much about black and white. It's not that. This knowledge, the have and the have-nots, are about those that have the knowledge and those that don't have the knowledge. And that is the issue here. Knowledge is not discriminatory. However, it has been segregated. So we have a set of knowledge that has been withheld from us to keep us at a level so that their legacy can continue to eat off of our legacy. But now that we're getting the knowledge, now that we're waking up, now that we're remembering who we truly are, we can start taking advantage and looking at, because all things are being revealed now, we can start looking at, okay, how those that have been keeping it, because there is a change of the guards. There is a wealth transfer taking place. And so you want to stabilize and build a house that's going to also say to the universe, I am one with God. I know who I am. I don't need nobody outside of me telling me what it is that I need to do for me and mine. I'm setting up shop because I am one with God. I remember that I'm beyond this reality. And instead of fighting with this reality, instead of protesting and marching, I am going to work smarter. I am going to think. I am going to set something in motion that the children that I'll never meet are going to benefit from. I'm going to align us with allowing the universe to manifest this wealth that I know is my divine inheritance, that I know that I'm going to get. I'm going to set something in motion to allow that to manifest effortlessly, but it can't come to you if you have a bank account that is connected to your social security number, because that is going to end up right back in the hands of the banking family. So you have to set up a properly constructed trust, a proper account, within the Federal Reserve, because again, they had to leave a loophole for themselves to transact. They're transacting in commerce just like we're transacting in commerce. So, how are they transacting and we're transacting, and how are they keeping and we're losing? It's very simple. It's very simple. We have to use that loophole that they have left for themselves, because that's not going to change. Trust law predates the Internal Revenue Code, and it's such a cold game, y'all. It's such a cold game that even the IRS does not tax. The IRS will tax a trust based on the way that the trust tells it to be taxed. So if you have limited liability companies and corporations and sole proprietorship and not, all of these different public legal entities that they have a standard percentage for, and they do have a percentage for trust, but those trusts, that percentage that they have for trust are for the trust that don't tell them how to tax it. You see the game? So in your trust documents, if you say that, this is taxable, if you say this is not taxable, if you say, you specify how they can tax you, that's how they're going to tax you. If they ever audit you and your paperwork says this is taxable, this is not taxable, that is the rules. That is the rules of engagement of the game, because trust law predates the Internal Revenue Code. So it goes so deep. So, within this construct, there's two realities going on here, and we have to decide whether we are going to bow. We got to choose this day who we're going to serve. Are we going to bow to mammon, money, the external pseudo authorities that are outside of us, telling us what it is that we need to do, telling us how to deal with our children, telling us all of these things, how to think and what to think and where to go and all of these things? Or are we going to take responsibility, accountability, remember who we truly are, and then level the hell up and then start transacting that way? And so that's what irrevocable trust provides you with, when you learn how to navigate different in this matrix, and you start being wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. And because they also give you privacy to where you can navigate in a more covert manner. So you're here, but you're not here. You're transacting, but nobody really can tell what you're building. They can't tell how much money you have. They can't, an attorney or someone want to sue you or get at what it is that you're building. They can't even find what it is that you have, because you have it in a properly constructed trust that is basically off the grid because it's private, but it's still operating in commerce in these entities that have been set up, that we've been going in, these banks and things like that. We've been going in there, putting our money in and, getting treated a certain type of way. And, they put a hold on our account when they want to, and all these different things. And when you start navigating as a trustee, I mean, my whole reality started shifting once I started transacting as a trustee. And it's been since 2009 when I officially got started in this game. And I've been sounding the alarm to my people since that time, like, but everything is about timing. And I understand that, everybody didn't get it initially, because it's a real mental shift, but it's a process. When you get this information that I'm giving you, you're ready for it, because you ain't gonna get it until you're ready for it. You're not going to actually be able to even digest what it is that I'm saying, or that, the universe is not going to send anything to you that you're not ready for. Now, there was a lot of, time when I was giving this information to us, and, because I'm, we just like sister equality, we're forerunners in this awakening journey. We've been at this for a very long time, and we've been consistently, bringing our piece of the puzzle, to the game and saying, hey, this is something that we need to look at. Hey, this is something that we could be doing a little different. Hey, not only just teaching it, but actually living it. I've been living this. And so this ain't something that I just read and I'm trying to regurgitate. And, like, again, I ain't got no notes or nothing. This is all off the top of my dome, because it's in here. It's what I live. It's not something that I just, just made up or, figured out last week. This has been a life journey for me. And because I got to a point to where I was tired of being messed with, I was tired of being tracked, I was tired of the chaos that comes with the pursuit of ownership, and how unattainable it is. And, playing the rat race, playing in the game, realizing all of these different things that I know and that I've been exposed to, that come from just wanting the truth. And the scriptures say, when you know the truth will make you free. And so, because it's so many of us that are not free, something has to say, okay, well, we ain't been getting the truth. We need to put a halt on everything and start doing something different if we want different results. So if you want to change your reality, if you want to make sure that you're keeping what it is that you're building, if you want to make sure that you pass it multi-generationally and you take care of those that you will never meet, and frankly, I mean, we can just even go this route too, because we don't know what we don't know. If we were to reincarnate into our own bloodline, what decisions have we made today that are going to ensure that we come into a better situation? We have to step back and look and realize that, for one, we don't die. Energy doesn't die. So every exit is an entrance into something else. When we exit a door, we're entering something else. When we enter a door, we're exiting something else. This is all what this is all this reality has for us. This is what the truth of the matter is. And so, yeah, when we shed this skin, that doesn't change the fact that there's an essence within us that's going to continue to travel. Where are we going to travel? What is our next reality going to look like? Did we take responsibility for who it is that we are, to make sure that whatever it is that happens, we stood up and we said, okay, I'm going to be the person that breaks these generational curses off of my family. I'm going to be the person that makes the decision that those that come behind me are not coming into the bullshit, excuse my language, that I did. I'm the person that's going to step up and say, okay, we playing for keeps. See, they've been playing for keeps. We just been playing. So now it's time for us to play for keeps, because now it's about to be a change of the guards, which is why all this chaos and everything is happening, to keep us distracted and unfocused on remembering who we truly are, and to put us in a state of fear, and to make us feel like, okay, well, I'm scared to do anything right now because of this, that, and the other. The reality of it is that while we have this breath in our body, we need to be learning how to navigate different and give the universe a reason to keep us here. We need to be changing our thought patterns and realizing all of the things that we have within us that we have to lay to bed. All that ego tripping and this competition and this focus on, me, myself, and I. What are we going to do for the greater good? What are we going to do for those that are coming behind us? which is, I'm sure, what this group is about, because I wouldn't be coming from this angle. Again, every time I talk to a group is different. So the fact that I'm coming from this angle means that what I'm saying is a perfect fit for this situation. And so just think about what it is that I'm saying. You may not understand the dynamics of how to set up a trust, which I'm here to help you with that. You know, I have a video that goes with the fundamentals. If you want to visit poweroftrusts.com, and we'll put it in the link in the chat box. I'll go over that again with you before we get off this webinar. But powerofttrust.com, I did a video back in 2014 that just really laid out for a class that I put together called Cover Your Assets. And I did this video, and it's called The Power of Trust, but the website is powerofttrust.com. And if you go there, you can get access to that video, and it's going to take you step by step through what a trust is, how it's set up, who benefits, and give you a lot of history about how they've been used, and just information to see if it resonates with you. But as someone that is a master of your reality, if you transact any other way, you're gonna lose, because commerce is set up to take from you. Because again, all three of those components, neither one of them belong to you. You are using someone else's property to get someone else's property. Now, possession is 9/10 of the law, but the other 1/10 is title. You may have possession, but do you have title? And so the purpose of moving it out of their jurisdiction and putting it in is because you want to have possession and title. You want it to be a 360-degree solution, and you want to be bulletproof. You want to be able to navigate, do business, because hey, the public is crazy. You never know who it is that you're dealing with when you're doing business. So if you're in business or you're thinking about getting business, that's a whole nother aspect. But you know, you want your trust to own your business. You want to be set up to where everything leads to your dynasty being protected, your empire that you're building. I don't care if you got 1 acre. I don't care if you got no acres, if it's intellectual property, if it's just some, whatever it is that you want to pass. Again, your ass is your first asset. So you also want to do this to protect your family, and you want to teach them about stewardship, and you want to teach them about learning how to be a trustee, which goes with stewardship. You want to honor the universe by saying, I understand that God, the source, owns all, and that I'm here to manage that. So entrust me with more. Let me be faithful over the few things so that you can give me more. Let me set myself up and be accountable with what it is that you've entrusted me with. Let me start treating it different. That's the relationships, that's the opportunities, that's my time, that's my body, that's my assets, that's my the children that I've been entrusted with. Everything that I've been trusted with, I understand I don't own none of it. So let me start dealing with it different. And as you start dealing with it different, then you'll be given more, And so that is why I use trust. Now, you have people that use trust, for various reasons in the whole legal game, and, and this, that, and the other. But as a metaphysician, as someone that is talking to other awake beings, that we understand we are spiritual beings here, having navigating through a natural physical reality. We understand that, there's more going on than what we've been told. We understand that we are greater than what we have been told that we are. We understand that, there are controllers in place. We understand that, there's someone that has been eating off of us for a very long time. We understand that the way that this matrix is set up is not designed for us to win. It's not designed for right and wrong. It's designed for control. That's why I use trust, because contracts run the planet. I want to make sure I'm transacting in a way that signifies who I truly am. I can't be saying I'm a god, I'm a goddess, I'm a king, I'm a queen, and I'm out here transacting like a slave. It don't go together. So at some point, we have to align ourselves with the truth of who we are, and be unwilling to bow to any lesser form of that. We use those lesser forms to get what it is that we have for the greater good. But we don't get caught up in those lesser forms because we got an end game in mind. And so when I close my eyes at night, I already know that those that's coming behind me is straight. Every day that I wake up, I know that God's giving me another opportunity on purpose to help someone else get themselves in position, and so that's how I live my life, and that's how I've been living it. I don't deal with everybody. I don't do these Zooms I just started doing these Zooms out of obedience to my purpose. But, I've been navigating private for a long time. I only deal with clients that come to me through referral only. I don't market. I don't advertise because I'm not here to deal with everybody. All money ain't good money. I don't care about that. I'm here to make sure that those that I'm divinely connected to are straight. And so when I'm led to do that, then I do it. Sister Equality reached out to me about it, and we made it happen, because that is my sister. I trust her. I love her. I've been dealing with her for a very long time, since 2009, actually, and so since I made my switch, I've been dealing with her, and we've watched each other evolve. And so it is what it is. I'm here to help if you need my help, and so I'm going to take a break and make sure that we all on the same page.
Wow. That's all I can say right now, sis. It was amazing. I had one, I feel like we're on the same page. I appreciate you so much and the frequency and the knowledge you have brought to us this morning. I know many other people on the call are of like mind. So are you ready for questions at this point?
Yeah, we could do it.
Okay, so I'll ask this, I'll start off. So as I told you earlier, I'm getting ready to close on a house. So how do I protect that house and put that in the trust? Do I need to set up the trust first and then transfer the deed to the trust, or how does that work?
Well, you want to go ahead, and that's a very good question. You want to go ahead and use your individual capacity to get the house. You know what I'm saying? And then once you get the house, then I will help you to reconvey that house into your irrevocable trust, into your private trust. And, they have provision for that with the county recorder. So it's not no resistance. The only thing that we need to do is just to make sure that, when it's time to do that transition, you let your homeowner's insurance know that you're going to be putting it into a trust, just to make sure that the premium doesn't change, which most of the time it doesn't. And sometimes it does change, but it ends up being a lower premium, and so that's pretty much it. It's not going against anything that is already allowed. You know what I'm saying, sis? So once you get the house, you close and everything, and the dust settles, then you ready to move it, I got you. I'll help you walk you through that. It's just reconveying title into the trust, and then that's how it's going to show up in the county records. That's how the taxes are going to come forward, from that point when you have to pay taxes, property taxes and things like that. It's going to come in the name of the trust. You want to get a bank account set up, the right type of bank account set up for your trust to pay your bills and everything that you have that's titled into the trust. If you have taxes and things like that, then you want to pay your taxes from that trust account. And, anything that you primarily can do as an individual, you can do as a trustee. So it's not like, the only thing is that all of the liability and everything is removed, so you want to protect that because you plan for keeps. And then, once you transition it over into the trust and you reconvey it, the bank is not going to have a problem with it either. You just continue to pay, continue to do, what it is that you do. But at the end of the day, the contract, that mortgage or whatever it is, whichever way that you're, buying it, is going to be with you, but the trust is going to protect it. So,
okay. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, you'll still be able to move forward and get it done. You don't have, and the thing about it is, because the trust is private, it's not public record. So nobody will know when you set the trust up but you know what I'm saying? Because it's private. You don't have to file anything
Indeed.
to let the world know that you got a trust, because it's a private agreement. It's not a legal entity. So you could set the trust up tomorrow, you know what I'm saying? Or you could set it up the day after you close, you know? Like nobody is going to know when that trust went into effect, when it was created or when it was established, but you know? So it's no particular order. Like when you feel that you need to set the trust up, we set the trust up.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much, sis.
Very welcome.
Peace.
Peace, Asia.
Peace. I have a question. I'm interested in what you said about there's no date specific about when you set up the trust. And then if you can share some feedback on how like we can set up the trust.
Okay. So you want me to talk about the date part? What specifically?
Okay. Well, you just shared with Equality that when she's in her unique situation, that when she is ready, she can set up her trust, right? And it's not public. So you shared that there's no specific date in which someone can say, this is when you initiated the trust. So what that told me is what I'm understanding that as is like, if to say today is December 13th, that means no one can tell me that if I was to create my trust today, no one could come and tell me, oh, your trust wasn't created until December 13th. Like my trust, once I establish it, is my trust. Am I understanding that correctly? Like there's no date specific I need to be cognizant of that would prevent how I maneuver.
No. Actually, the thing about trust is you could backdate a trust to the point to where, like, say for instance, 5 years ago, you said, this is crazy. 5 years ago, you said, okay, I'm setting up a trust, but then you didn't get to set it up for whatever reason. You could actually backdate your trust to the 5 years prior when you decided to set up a trust. You know, it's such a different game, you know. But, you know, if you're talking in terms of, you're speaking in terms of like, okay, do I have to set my trust up first before I, you know, retitle something into it, or, you know, when you decide that you need the trust, you set the trust up. Now, as far as how to set the trust up, there's different formats that you can use. I have a do-it-yourself pack, you know. Well, normally, you know, I work with my clients, but recently I set up something that's a do-it-yourself pack, you know, that it has an advanced medical directive, it has a living trust, it has a last will and testament, and it has an irrevocable trust that, you know, that's included in it, and the instructions and, you know, all of that on how to use it. That I recently set up. It's a personal protection pack. So, you know, I'll give that information to Equality, you know, to Sister Equality, you know, if you're interested in it. The cost for that pack is generally $1,500. What I did for the groups that I'm working with is I did it for half price. So I did I think it's like $749 or something like that. But if you want those documents, and, you know, and you can use them numerous times. So if you have, you know, parents that you need to get set up, you know, if you have brothers and sisters or whatever, you could take that one set of documents and you can use it in the perpetuity. You can create as many trusts as you need. You know, I have over 100 private trusts. So the thing is, you know, it's all about what you need, you know, because you never want to put all your eggs in one basket. You want to make sure that you have a sound strategy set up. The advanced medical directive, which I didn't talk about none of that, but the advanced medical directive, the last will and testament, and the living trust, you know, those are basically for your person. So you want the advanced medical directive because you want, you know, if you go unconscious, if you get sick, if something happens, you want there to be instructions, you know, about who is to call the shots. who is to keep you on life support, take you off. How long you want to be on there, if you want to be on there at all. Do you want to donate your organs? Do you not? Do you only want to donate organs to specific people? Those type of things having to do with just your personhood. And then the living trust is, the last will and testament is basically instructions about not leaving anything to anybody, but just instructions, pay this from that, what's to cover what, how to take care of this and things of that nature. And then the living trust is basically you doing business as a trust. So, you want the living trust to say, okay, the 70-inch in my bedroom, I want to give that to my niece, or my bracelet, I want to give it to, my daughter, or, things of that nature, the things that you can't necessarily retitle into the irrevocable trust. So if you got land and properties and intellectual property and things like that, you want to make sure all of that, if you're trying to pass that generationally, you want to make sure that that is in the irrevocable trust. But the things like my dishes, my plants, and you want to put that in the living trust, so that the successor trustee, which is the trustee that will step up should something happen to you. Now we're talking about the living trust part. Should something happen to you, your successor trustee, so your husband, your brother, your mom, your dad, whoever it is that you trust, because the key word in trustee is trust. You want to make sure that you have a trustee that you trust, because they will have the ultimate decision-making power over whatever it is that they've been given. Okay. And so if you set up a living trust, then you want to put a successor trustee who's going to adhere to your wishes to the best of their ability, and to start distributing things should something happen to you. The living trust ceases to exist when you cease to exist. So from that point, once the living trust is activated upon your transition out of here, you want that next person to step up and start distributing according to how you laid it out in the living trust. Okay. The irrevocable trust, though, because you already retitled the house, you already retitled the cars, you already retitled the land, you already retitled your intellectual property and things like that. Business continues as usual with the irrevocable trust. You don't have to end up in probate. You don't have to end up in court with some third party or some attorneys or whatever, billing your estate or billing your heirs and your descendants to figure out things that you've already set in motion. So the irrevocable trust is basically, this over here is what's going to outlive me, and I've already made decisions about it. So this doesn't have to go to court. This, this is off limits. This is out of y'all's jurisdiction. This land and all of this over here, it's going to stay in my family, and the successor trustee just steps up and keeps it moving. But with the living trust, that's when you're navigating in the waters of the system. With the last will and testament, those things are designed to get you into court, get you into probate, so then somebody else can come and start eating off your legacy. And so with the living trust, they're not designed for asset protection. So you don't ever want to leave things that you plan to pass multi-generation, or just to your, just a generation, or just, you don't want that hardship on those that you leave behind. You want to make the decisions that you need to make, put those things in an irrevocable trust. You're the trustee over that. So you control everything until you leave here. And then the successor trustee steps up, and all of that is private business. The revocable trust, however, that's more so me doing business as a trust. I'm the settler, I'm the trustee, and I'm benefiting off of it while I'm alive. And then when something happens to me, the successor trustee steps up and starts distributing things according to how I laid it out in the living trust. So I said that to explain to you, what's in this personal protection pack. And I have that, if anybody wants access to it, you're more than welcome to take advantage of that. Trust documents, however, I created a format to make sure your trust documents, your irrevocable trust documents, are like your Bible. They're like your blueprint. That's what you leave. They tell you, what you do, what you're to do, in different situations, why this trust was established, the date that it was established, who's the settlor, who's the trustee, who's the beneficiaries, what we put this together for. And then they lay out all the terms, you know, in the event of this, this is what the trustee has the power to do. You know, they're like your Bible. And so as a trustee of an irrevocable trust, your first job, your first obligation is to uphold what those trust documents say. So if somebody comes along and wants you to go against what those trust documents say, you can't even do that, because that's your job as trustee, is to uphold those documents. That's why it's so important to have them spelled out in such a detailed manner, you know. And, you know, it's hard for me to really tell you how to set up a trust document, because that's not everybody's lane. Like, you know, you want to make sure that your trust document weathers the test of time. So it has to be thorough. It has to be detailed. You want to make sure that if anybody ever tries to step up, which you don't, you know, your trust documents are private anyway, so nobody is going to see them. But in the event that you had a situation where someone wanted to review your trust documents, for instance, like I was saying about the taxes, you know, if you're doing things a certain way, and then the IRS, which none of my clients have ever been audited, you know, but in the event, it's still a possibility. In the event that, you know, you have someone that steps up and says, okay, well, we want to make sure that the trust is a legitimate trust, you know, and we want to make sure that, you know, what you're doing is according to the trust documents, which that hasn't happened on my watch with my people, but it can happen, you know. So I don't want to say, oh, it absolutely won't happen. It can happen depending on how you navigate, you know. If you do that, you want to make sure your trust documents are so on point, so concise, so detailed, that there's no loopholes, all your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed, that it's basically bulletproof, to where, you know, whoever it is that's got an interest or think they got an interest will just kind of ride off in the sunset and go on about their business. And so I can't really tell you, you know, how to set up a trust document. There's a lot of different formats online, you know, and they, you know, I've checked some of them out, LegalZoom and other, you know, formats. They have different trusts, but, you know, what I deal with, the trusts that I create are on the same level that the banking families and the controllers use. So I'm always going to, you know, push that, because I know for a fact that it works. So.
Okay, so it looks like we have a couple questions in the chat box, Queen. First one, should you have an attorney involved when creating trusts? And that's from Power. He also thanks you for your precious time.
Okay, great question. You can have an attorney involved. Here's the difference. When you involve an attorney, a lot of times they want, okay, I'm gonna start this off with a story, and then I'm gonna let you answer whether you should have an attorney involved. Kobe Bryant, we already know that he got long money, long wealth, long assets. His attorney created trust for him, and Kobe is a trustee, but his attorney was also the trustee. So Kobe transitioned. Now, he had 3 girls that he factored into the trust as beneficiaries. It was his wife and his first 3 daughters. It had been 9 months since they had updated the documents. So he had a 4th daughter. Okay. Well, he transitioned. He didn't expect to pass away, but he transitioned out of here. His attorney now is the trustee, controlling everything that he left behind. His wife is a beneficiary. So now she has to get distributions when the trustee gives it to her. The 3 daughters are beneficiaries because they were written in as beneficiaries. But the 4th baby, the wife had to having to go to court to get permission to factor in the 4th daughter, because she wasn't factored in to the trust documents. So instead of him leaving his wife as the successor trustee, who would then be able to control everything that he left behind. If he would have left his wife as the successor trustee, she could automatically take care of her daughter without having to get permission from any court to factor the baby in. The attorney now is on salary, getting salary from managing the affairs of the trust. Kobe's no longer here. The wife is at the beck and call of what the attorney distributes to her and to her daughters. And the attorney, now his legacy can continue to eat off of Kobe's legacy. So with that being said, should you involve an attorney? Because an attorney is not just going to set up a trust for you without wanting to benefit on some level. Whether they put themselves in as a trustee, a successor trustee, or, something. A lot of times they won't even do an irrevocable trust for you unless you have a certain amount of assets. Now, why should it matter? I've had one client that went to an attorney to get an irrevocable trust set up, and the attorney basically said, okay, well, do you have $250,000 liquid? What the hell does that have to do with you setting me up a trust? Well, because they need to be able to know that they can factor themselves in some kind of way beyond just making the trust documents for you. They need to continue to eat off of it in some type of way. And so if you don't have the amount of capital or things of that nature that they want you to have, that they can factor themselves in to continue to eat off of you, a lot of times they won't even set you up. I've also had clients that have requested to get an irrevocable trust set up, and the attorney would only set them up with a living trust. Why? Because that living trust, that will is going to put them in probate. So my job is not to nickel and dime those that I help. My job is to get them set up and teach them how to run their ship. Because in the event that something happens to me, I don't want them depending on me. My job is, if you're masterminded, if you're focused on self-mastery, you need to know how to run your ship. You don't need a third party to come in and be telling you. See, that's the problem right now. We're looking to other people to come in and tell us what it is that we need to do. And then they factor themselves in and continue to eat off of us instead of us assuming control and learning what it is that we need to learn so that we could pass that knowledge forward. So that was the long answer. The short answer is no. So hopefully that helped you to be able to determine, whether you need to involve an attorney. If you have an attorney and that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. But I can tell you that the intentions are going to be different, because an attorney thrives off of problems being created. And so putting you in a position to where you never need them again is normally not the objective. The objective is normally put you in a position to where they can continue to get a retainer or get some type of fees off of you and continue to benefit off of you in some way. And if they ain't benefiting, making sure that their kids benefit off of your kids, like with the situation with Kobe. So, it's unfortunate that, that it is that way, but that's the matrix. It's not about right and wrong. It's about control.
Indeed, indeed. Okay, next question. Besides, from Queen Felicia, besides homes or land, what are some things that you identify are some of the things that most people forget to include within their trust that we should be mindful and make sure that we include?
Great question. Intellectual property, your businesses, weapons, gold, silver, things of that nature. You want to make sure that, anything that's confiscatable. Once upon a time, they confiscated all the gold from the citizens in 1933 and had them turn all their gold in for paper to the postmaster, to the post office. They had them go and surrender all their gold, and it became illegal overnight to have precious metals, because they wanted to control all the currency. And so they made people come and surrender their precious metals in exchange for paper. And you can only have a little bit of gold on you, for jewelry purposes. So history oftentimes repeats itself, and you want to make sure anything of value that you want to pass multi-generationally, that you secure it in your irrevocable trust. You have people who are felons. They can't carry, but they, again, I'm just going to be me, if it comes down to it, self-preservation is, first rule of law. Like, you don't need a piece of paper to tell you whether you can defend your family. And so there are people that are felons that have weapons or, things of that nature that, they're having a hard time with getting the system to restore their rights and things like that. You can, reconvey those weapons as family heirlooms and things of that nature. You follow me? Put them into a trust, because now they don't belong to you. You control it. You know what I mean? You want to make sure that you have it in a safekeeping. You want to make sure you don't get caught up with, with the law as far as the proximity and things like that. But however, you also, in the event that you need it, you the trustee, these are things you're passing forward to your sons or to your family, that, hey, they belong to the trust. And so you can reconvey and retitle those weapons with the, serial numbers and things of that nature into the trust to where you don't own it anymore. So it's, it's just rising above these blocks that have been put in, position to keep us at a disadvantage, and using what the tools that are available to make sure that, okay, we're still abiding by these quote unquote laws over here, but at the same time, self-preservation, making sure our family is straight, if you feel me. So.
Wow, good stuff. All right, next question. Do you sell life insurance as well?
I don't sell life insurance. A funny story is I recently signed up with a young lady that is a client who wants me to sell life insurance. That really ain't my thing though. I don't think I'm gonna move forward with it because, it's just, we all got our piece of the puzzle. I have a phenomenal agent though, that is based out of DC, but he's licensed in multiple states, and he teaches you, just like I'm teaching about the trust, he teaches you that game, like for real, for real. He teaches you how to be your own bank, use that life insurance policy to, put cash in that, because again, with the right type of life insurance policy, even, okay, if you look on the Federal Reserve website and you pull up different banks, Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, Nations, all these different banks, you'll see that the majority of their money that they, in their assets are into life insurance policies. Why do they do that? They do that because they can stuff large amount of money into these policies. And in the event of an economical collapse, which there will be one, life insurance is not going to fold. And so, you can stuff money into your life insurance policies, and it has the same premise as with trust. Creditors can't get to it. If someone wants to sue you, they can't find it. They can't get to it. It has all these different benefits. And with our community, they tend to just push, okay, get some term life insurance because it's cheaper. Well, the thing about term life insurance is that if you get term, you may be paying $90 a month for $1 million policy, but that's strictly a death benefit. And then when you transition, the first thing they're going to do is try to find a reason why not to pay it, so because they're not in the business of losing money, they're in the business of making money. So they'll collect your premiums all while you're alive. And then you transition. Now they want to try to figure out how not to pay it, find something on you that prevents them from paying the death benefit out. With the universal policies and the cash building policies, you know, the whole life policies, you get to take advantage of those while you're breathing. So you stuffing money into those life insurance policies, and then say, for instance, your daughter get married, or you want to buy a house, or you got a life event and you need to pull some, you need some cash. You can pull that cash out of that life insurance policy, borrow against your own policy, not have to jump through a bunch of credit hoops, you know, don't even have to qualify. And it's a private transaction between you and that life insurance company, where they give you a portion of what it is that you have. And then it doesn't take away from your policy. And so if something happened to you, they would still pay out the death benefit, because they gave you the cash available side. They didn't touch the death benefit, so it wouldn't take away from your children if, for instance, you pull that cash out that policy and then something God forbid something happened to you. They would still pay out the death benefit, and they're not going to harass you about repaying that money back into the policy. So it's just you pulling money out your own situation, being your own bank, and you repay it on your own terms, and they're not hitting your credit if you don't pay, you know, X amount of dollars per month, and they're not running to see what your FICO score is to make you qualify to get that money out. So it has the same dynamics, but the opposite side of what trust provide. And a lot of, like with one of my insurance policies, well, a few of my insurance policies, a trust is the beneficiary. So that way I'm using the life insurance, the trust is the beneficiary. I have a trust account set up. So if something happened to me, that life insurance policy is going to cut a check to my trust. And then my successor trustee can step up and can control those funds more than if I just left $1 million to my daughter who ain't never had $10,000. You see what I'm saying? Then you leaving money to our kids who ain't never had no money. A lot of times that money is going to destroy them. So you want to make sure that that money comes into a trust where it can be controlled, you know, and then the successor trustee can take care of those that you leave behind in a more controlled manner, in a private manner, versus the life insurance company just cutting a check to your beneficiaries. Your beneficiaries out here balling out of control on life insurance money, but then it's not going to last generationally because it wasn't put into a mechanism that was designed for multi-generational wealth. It was just given to them as an individual, and now they can do whatever the hell they want to do with it because it's in their name. If you told them, okay, I want you to go to college and things like that, they don't have to do nothing that you said, because now they got this money, they can do whatever they want to do with it. But if you put it into a trust, now you can put instructions. Okay, I want this to be taken care of. I want that to be taken care of, you know, blah, 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 blase, and so forth. You know, hopefully, you know, you get the picture. But no, I don't. But I would say that, you know, I don't sell life insurance, but I would advise that, you know, we really take that seriously as well. Not just what's going to benefit those we leave behind, but, you know, especially if you're young, like if you get you a whole life insurance policy right now and you just start putting money in it, I mean, you know, you're going to be way, 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 way set by the time, you know, you get a little bit more mature and your family starts getting up in age and you start having changes in life events. And with those whole life policies and universal cash policies, the companies that house those type of policies will also look at you as a shareholder and will pay you dividends quarterly, because you're putting, you know, your policy, you have a policy with them, but you're also seen as seen as an owner, in a sense, a shareholder in that company when you have that policy. So then they will pay you out quarterly dividends, which that's a residual income stream, you know, which you can have it either put back into your policy, or you can get that just deposited into your bank. So you want to make sure that you get set up with the right type of life insurance policy. With the game that I just gave you, make sure that you ask those questions. Don't just let them stick you in a term policy. Yeah, term policy is cheaper, but it can only benefit those that you leave behind. You want something, yeah, you may cost you $200, $300, $400 a month to have you a whole life policy. But guess what? You got your money into something versus a bank, which is not going to pay you anything for your money being in there. The interest is a joke that they pay. They're flipping your money without your knowledge. If you put it in the life insurance policy and you have a change in life events, you could be like, hey, I need to get access to that. And then you can get access to it and pay it back on your terms. So it's more expensive, but the benefits far outweigh just sticking your money in a bank. Economical collapse happen, they ain't finna look out for you at all. You know, it's a whole different game. And so that's why they use those, but they tell us to save. But they use that, you know what I'm saying? But they tell us, save your money, put it in the savings, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, I'm putting it in the savings because now I got it in the savings and y'all flipping my money and y'all doing whatever you want to do with it without my knowledge, right? But if you put it in a life insurance policy, the right type, then you can gain access to it on your terms when you need to, when that cash is available, and benefit you while you are still here in the flesh, instead of just it benefiting, you know, someone once you transition.
And so Power also said maybe we could get the brother from DC that you work with. Maybe he would be willing to do a presentation, possibly. I don't know.
He will.
That's wonderful.
Will.
We'd like to make that happen.
Yes, I will definitely reach out to him and put him in contact with you, sis. And he would love to help. He's the one.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a life insurance policy, but knowing that the universal cash policy and the dividends, and you said also whole life and universal, I need to educate myself more, obviously, but thank you for that, sis. All right, Justice had a question. If an irrevocable trust is private, is it documented with the county clerk or recorder or through the federal registry? And we appreciate you, Queen.
Negative, none of that. It doesn't have to be filed. It's not a legal entity, it's a private contract. So legal entities are where the state gives you permission. You have to file paperwork, you know, Secretary of State, make sure the name is available. They're giving you permission to do business. Legal means taxable. Okay, that's what legal means. Legal doesn't mean right. Legal means taxable. Illegal doesn't mean wrong. Illegal means not taxable. So with legal entities, you're filing a paperwork with the Secretary of State. They're giving you permission to do business in that state under this name with this type of entity. So you have to go through the channel of filing a public record with them because you're doing business in the state. It's regulated by the state. It's statutory law, which is root word state. Okay, so it's statutory state regulated law. Okay, with a trust, with the irrevocable trust. Now they do have some trusts that are available through the Secretary of State, but they're not the type of trust that I'm speaking of. With a private irrevocable trust, it's a private contract. It's a private contract. Doesn't have to be registered anywhere. It doesn't have to be validated anywhere. Once you establish it, it is what it is because it's based on your right to contract. So it's not a public or considered a legal entity, meaning the state don't have no interest in your trust. You could set up a trust here based on a jurisdiction in Costa Rica or based on, you know, it's based on where you establish it, how you want it set up, okay? And so that's the difference. One is filed in the public venue so that anybody can get online, look your company up, find out who the officer is, registered agent, if you got shares, if you don't, if you're in default, if you've been, you know, paying your yearly annual fees and all of that nature, okay? Well, with the private trust, none of that. And even when you go in the bank, now, some of the banks want a copy of your trust documents because they're just trying to be nosy. But you never want to give the bank a copy of your documents. And Wells Fargo is the bank that my client's been using for the past 11 years, because they don't want to see trust documents. They deal with trust accounts very well. You want to make sure that you get a non-interest bearing account, because you want to do business with the bank on your terms. You don't want to do business with the bank on their terms. So when you're doing business with the bank on their terms, that means that you're going in there, you're getting an account that bears interest. Now, you generate a little bit of interest, that gives them the right to report to the IRS what you got in the bank account. You see? So remember, take it back to the wealthy had to leave a loophole for themselves. You set up a non-interest bearing account, there's no need to report because you're not generating interest. That's why nobody can find it. That's why nobody knows what you have in it, because the bank is not reporting to anybody what you have in it because you're not generating interest. Just the fact that you have an interest bearing account opens you up for them to report what you have in that account. Not generating any interest closes that door. So the little bit of pennies that they give you, they expose everything about your account. You see, and Bank of America and Chase, especially, their primary function is to spy on their customers for the alphabet agencies. Not that you're doing anything wrong, but at the same time, you don't want nobody in your business that you don't want in your business. You want people in your business that you allow in your business. And so when you set up a trust account that's not generating interest, okay, that closes the door for anybody to even know what it is that you got in there, because you're not generating any interest on it. You're doing business with the bank on your terms. And so Wells Fargo is like the rebel bank, which is why things have come out about them in recent times where they've been made to look like this, that, and the other. All the banks open accounts without our knowledge. That straw man, that QSIP, that identification information doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the powers that be. And so there's a whole lot of things going on in our quote unquote information that we don't know about. But they put the highlight on Wells Fargo because, like with everything, if you get to a certain level and they want you to do certain things and you don't do, now they try to strip your influence or shine the light on you like you're this, that, and the other, or Bank of America, Chase, all the rest of those banks, JP Morgan Chase is one of the lead crooks. And so, people run into Chase, give their money up, Bank of America, they all do the same thing. So I'm saying that to say, you want to make sure that when you set your trust account up, that you get a non-interest bearing account. You don't ever want to give your trust documents to the bank. They say, okay, well, our legal department, they just are trying to see how your trust is set up, who's benefiting, who created it, who they want to see stuff that's none of their business. Only thing they need to know is that you're the trustee, okay? And that you have the document that says that you have the authority to open up this account for the trust. Now, it's not your trust, it's a trust, which is another thing. It's not your trust because it's considered to be its own person. So you want to watch how it is that you identify, the trust. It's not your trust. The trust, it's its own person. So it don't belong to anybody. It's its own owner. You control it. That's it. You have a fiduciary responsibility to control and manage the affairs of the trust. Aside from that, anything that's gone in it, it belongs to the trust. You just work for the trust. That's it. And so that's the way that it's set up, and that's the way that you want to navigate. When you're dealing with the banks and things of that nature, you want to make sure you have non-interest bearing account. I would advise to go to Wells Fargo because they already know the deal. They do it, been doing it, have no problem with offering that to you, will set you up. Don't need to see your trust documents, are not even interested in your trust documents, and you'll get treated right.
Wow. Wow. It's funny how Wells Fargo, they have kind of dogged them over the years. They have. You hear it all the time. And I've stayed away from Wells Fargo. Well, and I stayed away from Chase as well and Bank of America. I use credit unions. I feel a lot more secure with credit unions in my banking. But thank you for those jewels. My question is, what should we consider, sis, when we name the trust? Should we keep our name off of the trust completely, or can you shed some light on that?
You want to name your trust? Yes, sis. Very good question. And you're right, they have dog wills, but the reality of it is, like, sometimes when you're dealing with the credit unions, they want to see all your trust documents because they're smaller, and they don't do that as much. That's not, they don't offer that as much. Sometimes some of the credit unions have departments that want to create a trust for you. Some of the credit unions have they want to factor themselves in as, a successor trustee or to be in control should something happen. So that's why, Wells Fargo just works for trust. I just specifically now, you have the ability to get more than one account, with your trust. You don't have to just get one account. But the thing is, you never want to have all your eggs in one basket. I would say, get several accounts if you feel comfortable with a credit union. Check out and ask them, what is their process on opening up a trust account. If they say, well, we need to see your trust documents, then you already know they're gonna, because the trust I create, they're like 100 pages. So you take a trust in there, you know what I'm saying, and they gotta upload all that information in, and their legal department gonna be dizzy. They ain't gonna know what the hell they read anyway. The bottom line is they just, sometimes they want you to allow them to create a trust for you because it's what they do. Their business, it's their business. So you can get an account at Wells Fargo, a trust account, just, based on what I'm sharing with you right now, you'll see that they're going to treat you right. And you'll be able to weather the storms with that type of account, because additionally, every bank, sometimes they might not offer you a non-interest bearing account. Some banks have accounts set up where they just want you to get interest, but they getting interest kind of defeats the purpose, because now you have your information being reported, which you're building wealth silently. You want the stuff you want your trust account to have the money that you don't want nobody to know about. You know what I'm saying? So you put it in there. If it's not generating any interest, nobody is knowing, what's in there. You know what I'm saying? Not that you're hiding anything, but you being private. That's your right. That's your responsibility to be private, to navigate private as a trustee with a private trust. Naming the trust, I would say, you want to be as, you don't want to do anything that's specific to an industry. For instance, you don't want to say, the Jackson Banking Trust, or, you don't want anybody to get a concept of what it is that you're doing with your trust just based on the name. So for instance, the Jackson Group, the ABC Duck Trust. You can name it anything you want, because you don't have anybody to get permission from. It's not, you don't have to go through the filters of the Secretary of State approving whether this has been named by someone else or not. The Jackson Family Trust, the Jackson and Associates Group. You want to stay in general terms where nobody really can get an idea of what you're using the trust for just based on the name. Because sometimes, like, if you name it something like the Jackson Real Estate Trust or the Jackson Banking Trust, and then you go into the bank, then the bank is like, oh, well, is this a business trust? No, it's not a business trust, because you have some banks, they won't, they get nervous about opening up business trusts because they understand that the liability and things like that, it's just their program and how they've been programmed. So you want everything to go as smooth as possible. So the more standard and covert the name is, it's going to make things effortless on the receiving end of who it is that's doing it. Because again, they got their filters and their programming and their training, that and you could not be doing any banking with the trust, but because you say, planning to open up a bank or anything like that, or, whatever, but just because the trust, the name of it says that, then they're automatically going to assume that you're doing business. Now, you can do business with the trust, but you don't want them to automatically assume that you're doing business with the trust. You know, so your objective is to get the account open so that you can navigate and do what it is that you need to do. I would also, with that being said, not advise you to use a trust to do business. I would say use the LLCs, use the corporations, use the public entities to do business with the public. Okay? Your trust is your castle. Your trust is your safe house. Your trust is, like I said, the foundation. You don't want to get into contracts in the matrix with your trust. You don't want to open up a business, a restaurant with your trust. You don't want to put your trust in risk adverse situations. You want your trust to be your safe house. You want to use all the lower stuff to do business with the public, the LLCs, the corporations, the nonprofits, the partnerships, all of that. So, you want to use the things that are available to do business with the public, because again, the public is crazy. So if you have, say for instance, a limited liability company, and the member on that limited liability company is a private trust, okay? The limited liability company is doing business with the public, right? But the money from that limited liability company, you want it to be in your trust account. Now, the trust is not doing business with the public. The limited liability is doing business with the public. So if somebody want to come against the limited liability, ain't shit to take. Excuse my language. There's nothing in the limited liability company account except for money for payroll and expenses of the LLC minimum. But your money that you made off the LLC, you want that to be in your trust account, because that can't be touched. The trust account, the trust is not doing business with this person that has a problem with you or with your company. The trust owns the company. So that's where the ladder stops. They have an issue with the LLC. Their issue is with the LLC. They want to sue, they got to sue the LLC. That's who the contractual agreement is with, not with the trust. But the money is in the trust. So they can attack the LLC, but ain't nothing to take. You see? So you want to just make sure that when you build your strategy, that you have it solid to where you have your house, your castle, where you're building, you have that everything protected up there. You don't want to be entering into contracts, with the matrix from your trust. There's plenty of public entities that you could use to do that with, and you want to take advantage and use those.
Indeed, thank you. Okay, I think we've got, okay, one of the kings up in Canada, Divine Intel, he's asking, do you know of any banks in Canada that are like Wells Fargo?
I can find you some. I have some clients in Canada, and I'll definitely find out which banks that they frequent. I'll get that information over to you. There's some, I'm trying to think, I think there are some banks that are set up here that are also set up over there. Northern Trust, and I know Wells Fargo has a sister bank over there, but I got to find out what the name of it, but I'll get that information for you. I'll get it for you.
Okay, thank you. And then it looks like the final is there a specific age a person can create a trust? Can anyone under 18 or, create a trust?
I wouldn't advise it. You want to be of age. You want to be of age, because you need to navigate with it. You need to handle business with it, and you can set up a trust for someone underage. But as far as someone underage setting up one, I personally wouldn't set up a trust for anybody that wasn't of legal age, mainly because there's things that they're going to need to do with it, and it kind of defeats it will kind of put them in a challenging situation. to do that. Now, if they just want to set it up and then, just for age purposes, again, and wait until they're of age before they start utilizing it, they don't have to necessarily do that either, because no one's going to know when the trust was set up. So it's not like an aged corporation where, there's a benefit to it being created 2-3 years ago. Now you can go get access to different things based on the age of it. It's really no benefit to set it up unless, you have some long money as a, 16, 17-year-old, you got some millions, you want to set up a trust to make sure that, your money is protected and things. Now that's a different ball game. But if you just are the, the average underage person that doesn't really have a lot of, assets and things of that nature yet, I would just wait until you, are 18, or, set it up and just don't utilize it, because what are you going to do with it? Like, it would have to, that's a different question. It would just depend on the situation. It would depend on the situation. If you are emancipated from your parents and you're out here on your own and, you're trying to build something, that's a real rare situation. So it would just depend on that situation based on what my answer would be. But if it's just a normal 17, 16-year-old, I wouldn't do it until I was of age to be able to go in the bank, get my accounts open, without parental, consent and all those things. So.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, family, any other questions? We've been on here almost 2 hours, sis, so thank you. This is so much knowledge, so much information. Great stuff. Anybody have, yes, it's been a pleasure. Anybody have any final questions or comments? You can unmute your line if you'd like to.
Hi, I have a quick question. It's just about your website. How do you get on? Is it www or just the HTTP?
It should be www.powertrust.com.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and you should be able to pull it up. Let me just, while I have you on the phone, it's not a HTTP. No, it should just be www.powertrust.com, and you should see that once it comes up. I don't know if you can see that, but that should be what when it.
And I also dropped it in the chat. So sis, if people need to reach out to you, get connected, follow you on social media, where can they find you? How can they connect?
You can find me on Instagram, or you can email me if you want to set up a consultation. Instagram, Dr. Saacha Spade is my Instagram handle. Dr. Dr. Saacha Spade. And if you want to email me, you can email me at Saacha@sachaspade.com. That's SAACHA at first and last name, Sachaspade.com. And I'll get with you, and help you out. Also, let me just make sure. If you want to look at the information for the do-it-yourself protection pack, you can go to preserveyourlegacy.com, and it has the information there. And again, on here it's $14.99. However, if you let me know that, that you want to get it or whatever. I'll give you a discount code so that you can get it for, like I said, half off. I'll create one strictly for the group, sis. And, if there's anybody that wants to get it, they can go in, and it has, it's a litany of documents downloadable, but it's instant download. You can modify those documents, in specific spaces. It shows you where to modify them. And again, you can use them for however many people you need to, now and future, whatever, just to make sure that you have all 360 degrees taken care of, from your person to what you're passing forward beyond your person. And so that's preserveyourlegacy.com as well.
That's great. And I dropped everything. I think I covered everything in the chat. So if you all want to copy and paste your IG handle, your email, preserveyourlegacy.com, all looks good. Okay. All right. Anything else, family, before we wrap this up? Anyone at all? All right, sis. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So appreciated. Appreciate your time. Appreciate all this knowledge. I have a whole page of notes I've taken. I'll definitely be reaching out to you to kind of finalize some things. I know I didn't move all the way forward, and I need to. Definitely now, I guess, like you said, everything comes in time, and when we're ready, it's time to move. So thank you. And thank you, family, for coming. We recorded this, sis. I could share it with you if you'd like. Okay. I can send you the link.
Yeah.
And then I'm also going to be sharing it with the larger community. So thank you so much. We love you and appreciate
Thank you so much. I love you all. And if you have any questions or, need any clarity on anything, feel free to reach out and contact me. Indeed. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
All right. You too. Have a great day, everyone.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Peace.
Peace.